So hello everyone, good morning. I'm David from Ipsos in China. So it's my great pleasure to have this opportunity sharing with you our learnings and observations in China market. So in my today's 30 minutes presentation, I will mainly cover two topics. The first thing is what we observed about consumers' changes in terms of their behavior and attitude, especially in the recent several weeks during the recovery period, what we see as early signals and what can help us to predict their behavior changes in the future. And secondly, I will also talk about our observations in terms of manufacturers and brands, what they are doing in China market in terms of the battle against the disease and what did well and what we see they plan to do in future. So the whole presentation will last around 30 minutes and I will leave around 10 minutes for the Q&A. I will try to answer as many as possible. But if your questions do not get answered, don't worry. You can reach to your local contact and make sure that I'll write answers to them and they will follow up. And today's presentation deck will also be shared to you by our local Ipsos office. So to begin with, I just want to have a quick update in terms of the current situation. It has been almost 4 months since we first discovered the disease. And I just checked the news today, and it seems that throughout the whole China, there are less than 1,700 cases left. And in the city, Shanghai, where I'm based in, there are less than 100 cases left now. And since the beginning of last month, we can see that most of the provinces have gradually downgraded the health warning emergency level to 3 to 2 level, and the citizens are all gradually back to the normal life. And I think that 2 weeks ago, the end of lockdown in Wuhan, which is the center of the disease, is symbolized that China's battle against the whole disease has now moved to a new stage, which is preventing the imported case as well as driving the economic recovery. So by the end of last month, we see that most of the provinces that the work resumption rate has exceeded 90%. And also, we see that across various industries, there were a very high work resumption rate, especially in the retailing industry. Almost all the supermarket, convenience stores, hypermarket are open now. And here I want to show you some photos I took yesterday. You can see that our daily life is almost back to normal, except that everyone wear face masks in street and in office. On the top left-hand side, you can see that when they go to the subway, there's the assistance to automatically check everyone's temperature. And also, in the bottom side, you see that if we go to the office building, there's strict measures on the temperature as well. And the shopping malls still feel very empty. But apart from that, and we don't feel any difference compared to the normal life. It's a long journey. Throughout the whole 4 months period, we witnessed the changes of consumer behaviors and attitudes. And now we try to join the dots together and try to build scenarios to see what the impact towards the consumers and towards the market, especially in the recent couple of weeks, which we closely monitor the consumer behavior changes during the recovery period to see if we can predict what might happen in the near future. So we can see that throughout the whole month, consumers really went through a long journey through 6 stages with a variety of the emotional states. In the beginning, they have the uncertainty, disbelief, panic, and then suddenly jump into a preparation stage. They found that the disease is so close to themselves, and they have stockpiling, and they change their travel plans. And then they stay home, make the adjustment psychologically and behavior-wise, make the adjustment. And then they gradually get used to the new norm and tolerate a lot of inconvenience while anticipate the disease to finish. And gradually move to the recovery period with a mixed feeling of excitement as well as anxious. And in the beginning of the disease, in the early stages, there was fear, uncertainty, panic buyings, and stockpilings. There are a lot of news and fake news, and people get so confused. And by that time, we see there are a lot of very emotional buying behaviors and brand switch buying behaviors, because consumers just want to stop buying the products and they jump into the supermarket, buy whatever on the shelf. If their preferred brand are not there, they tend to try other brands, just want to make sure that they have enough goods to stay at home. And everything settled after the central government and authorities take over the management of the epidemic situation, and citizens start to realize that the whole situation, what happened, and form a consistent view towards the outbreak. And by that time, Wuhan was completely locked down, and the rest of the province and the cities also implemented a certain level, very strict lockdown policies. So during the uncertainty period, we show that a lot of people actively seek clear information. For example, a lot of people saying they review the WeChat, which is the Chinese version WhatsApp, every day, try to get more accurate information. And also, we see a lot of media switching behaviors because people want to get the news in time. So, for example, traditionally, if they rely on TV or radio news, and now they feel that TV and radio news are too slow, so they turn to online medias like WeChat or Weibo, which is the Chinese version Twitter. And also, people learn to cross-check different channels to validate those informations. And sometimes they do get overwhelmed by all kind of informations. And also during the uncertainty period, we found that people may spend more time on the hobbies that they are expert. For example, they cook the food they are good at. They watch TV, watch movies online. So such behaviors reflect that people under uncertainty, they have a sense of control over small aspect of their life. And during that period, we observe that people tend to stick to their familiar brands because that will minimize the post-purchase regret and also let them feel that they control everything. And of course that most of people quickly adjust themselves to the new stay-at-home mode. Overall, I think that most of people say that they are still their needs are still satisfied. The only thing they feel unhappy is about the inability to go outside, which we see a huge bounce back after the recovery in the past 2 weeks, that all the parks and the outdoor areas are fully packed. And from day to day, we also see the emotional tension shifting time. So there's upside and the downside, and people just are tolerant the new norm. And during that period, very interestingly, we see some very emotional purchase decisions. For example, we interviewed one of the respondents, and he said, I finally make my decision to buy a TV for myself because I think that I need to treat myself well. And also during that period, the later stage of the lockdown stay-at-home period, we see consumers to start to seek novelties. They want to learn new things, or they surf online for some novelty products because the life is so boring. So they want to buy those novelty things to have the excitement. And there's a very much enhanced concern, of course, towards the health, particularly concern about the ability to control the disease in the short term, or they're worried about get infected. And that concern also associates with consumers' behavior in terms of the health and also life insurance. I just get the report about the Q1 figure of those listed insurance companies. Most of the listed insurance companies claimed that their income in Q1, especially in March, got around double-digit increase. And the latest survey shows that in China, in the high-tier city, more than 60% of the consumers now express the willingness to buy the health insurance. And more than 50% of the consumers show the willingness to buy family insurance. So we can see that insurance is one of the key things which consumers might turn to action. And that epidemic period also simulated changes in consumers' mindset in terms of their social values, and a lot of more and more people start to review their lifestyle and try to think whether they spend enough time with the families, with their family members. And when we interviewed some of the consumers, they told us, oh, it's great that I finally got a long talk with my parents, or it's very good time. I really enjoying my stay with my kids. So, you know, in the past 10 years, China really live in a very fast speed, especially in the tier 1 city and tier 2 cities. And this is the first time that the majority of the people get a chance to slow down their pace. And that kind of slowdown have triggered a lot of reflection review to their social value systems. Now, of course, that we think that will also change their future work-life balance and attitude in the society as well. So overall, Chinese consumers are still very positive and optimistic about the economic recovery. So they think that in the second half of the year, and China's economic can remain in a very strong growth, same as 2019. Of course, the latest, this is still not the latest figure. I saw the latest figure, it slightly goes down because of the global disease situation. But overall, Chinese citizens still feel very optimistic about the economic recovery. However, it's a mixed feeling. When we ask them about their individual status, a lot of people showed they have very big concerns about their own financial securities. There are a lot of people talking about they worry about to get the pay cut, get a career slowdown in the near future, which will threaten their financial securities. And I'll read the report today. It shows that in the first 3 months, the overall saving in the bank increased about double digit, increased about 1 billion RMB. So which shows that consumers facing the uncertainty, they dared not to have big spendings. Another survey also shows that around 40% of the respondents say that they would reduce their spending to prepare for the future crisis. And also 50% of the consumers show that they might have to work harder to make more money. And that have impact. Later on, I will talk about the durable categories, big spending, that have significant impact towards those durable categories as well. For example, the automotive industry or even the travel industry, because people will cut those spendings. So to wrap up, we can see that in the past 4 months during the epidemic, there are a lot of changes in consumers' behaviors and attitudes. People have less outdoor activities, and they shift their media habits. They move to online, not only for the online e-commerce shopping, but also they seek information online. They talk to friends online. And also we see some brand switch activities as well. At the same time, they cherish more about their life and families, and changes in their social value concept, and they enhance the conscious towards the health. We just did a survey asking consumers meat purchase behavior. The majority of the consumers say they will further review rely more on the reliable channels to purchase meat. And there are also a small proportion of consumers say they will they will reduce the meat purchase or seek for alternatives, which may be a great chance for the artificial meat categories in China. And also that we can see that consumers are seeking for a financial to secure the financial crisis, and they quite worry about the short-term impact. That also changed their behavior as well. So I know a lot of people try to compare this time's crisis with 17 years ago, the SARS crisis. In the early stage, we think it might be a similar trend, and things can be bounced back very quickly. But recently, we think that these two things are not comparable, because the number of people affected by the COVID-19 is significantly higher than that during the SARS period. And also, China market is now more integrated with the global market, rely on the global import and export business, and people are connected together. So in terms of the scale and the impact, we think it's not comparable. So this time's crisis is really unprecedented and much worse than what happened 17 years ago. And the recent figure also shows the same story. Chinese government just released the Q1 GDP. It's down 6.8%. So unlike during the SARS period, there was only a decline in the service industry. And this time we see the agriculture industry and the manufacturing industry also have double-digit decline, which means that it's really a very bad situation. In the past 2 weeks, we do see a spike pattern in some of the categories. So one of the famous news is Hermes Guangzhou flagship store sold $2.7 million in 1 day when they reopened their store. And another news shows that during the traditional Chinese festival, the Tong Swimming holiday, people are piled up in those travel places. But we feel that might just be a release of the accumulated purchase intention in the past 3 months. And that's just a spike once off. It still will take a very long journey to fully recover. And actually, we're monitoring the people traffic in those big shopping malls in Shanghai. And at the end of last week, we only see the occupation rate is only around 40% compared with the normal days last year. So that's the part we talk about consumers' behavior changes and attitude changes. And we can see that some behaviors may change back, but I would say many behaviors will not change back. It's not reversible. And also the disease have huge impact to business as well. So next, I'm going to talk about what we see the business did during the epidemic in China and what we think they do well. So obviously, the impact to the business is very significant across many industries. So for example, the catering category, in the restaurant, we did see some spike patterns for some famous restaurant chains. When people finish the lockdown, they jump into the restaurant. But in recent weeks, it becomes quiet again. As the photo I showed you in the beginning of my presentation, the shopping mall still seems very empty. So people changed their behavior. They directly go home after work. They no longer stay in the restaurant. And to some extent, the restaurant face a much worse situation than the epidemic period. Because during the disease, when they closed, they got subsidies from the government. And also, they don't need to pay the staff fee. But now the restaurant get reopened, but they do not get enough traffic to consume in the restaurant. But they still have to pay the rental fee and have to pay the staff fee, those variable costs, which means that they face a much difficult situation than the past 2 months. And that also caused a lot of restaurants and in the catering industries closed. And the same situation in the tourism and the transportation as well, because in the past 3 months, people get used to chat online, and suddenly they feel they don't need to have a business trip. They can talk to each other, have the meetings online. That reduced significantly of the business transportations. And also because of the disease, and a lot of people worry about the second wave might happen, that also reduced the people's plan to do sightseeing, not only for overseas, but also within China. And we can see that that trend may last even in the coming May holidays. The retail industry also faced significant changes. And we found that a lot of consumers during the epidemic lockdown period, they started to do more online shopping. And a recent survey we did for the wet market shopping behaviors, we can see a lot of consumers move to the faster delivery online shopping systems. And when we interviewed them, asked them whether they will change it back to the offline shopping, there are more people say they will stay online or increase the online shopping. Then the people say they will back to the normal situation. So which means that the offline retail environment will face significant changes in the near future. And the same as automotive industry. Originally, we think that because of the disease, a lot of people will realize how important to have a private car, so which might boom the sales after the disease. But now what we see is because of the financial crisis, and a lot of people worry about the financial situation in the near future, they will delay the big spendings. Although there are some people who already in the pipeline will buy the car, especially the first car buyers, but there are more people who are the second time buyer or upgrade car buyers. They decide to delay their spendings in the automotive industry. So overall, we can see that in Q1, the car volume sales declined around 40%. And the industry expert also predict that throughout the whole year, it will show a decline trend in China as well. But of course, there are also many categories that have growth trend throughout the crisis. For example, the hygiene and healthcare. The household cleaning and the hygiene category used to be an ad hoc purchase, but now it becomes a routine purchase in household basket. And we see a significant increase in future as well. Same as the nutrition. Because of the enhanced consciousness to the health problems, the nutrition category, and especially those helped people to enhance immunities, will have a huge potential in the future. And also the skincare. In terms of the skincare and cosmetics, it's a mixed view. Some people say that they will reduce the use of cosmetics because they spend more time at home, less social activities. But there are also some consumers say that they will increase the expendings because they still want to make up and they want to show themselves when they're back to the social life. And especially for the skincare, the shift is moving because people have to wear the face mask every day. And more girls said that they will buy more skincare product to care their face. So definitely there are a lot of opportunities, but we need to be careful which category to focus on. And the epidemic is also accelerated the digitalization in many industries. For example, the online education become a booming industry for many kids in China. And because all the schools are still closed, and so the kids have to learn through the online system. And the government also proactively promote the online education system. So it becomes a norm for the kids to learn online. My daughter is only 9 years old, and she's now learned how to do those online lessons by herself already. Of course, the e-commerce platform also boomed in the past 3 months. not only the big e-commerce platform, but also those small or target niche consumers, and also as well as the live broadcasting for sale goods. And another interesting thing is the cloud-based experience. A lot of activities originally you never think it can be done online. For example, you go to the bars to enjoying the DJ music. This is a traditionally very offline activity. But now, during the lockdown period, because all the bars are closed, some famous bars have launched the cloud experience to have live DJ, live stream at home. So they show the live DJ and everyone listen to the music at home, drink, and enjoying it remotely with their friends. So these kind of activities also moved to online to create a lot of online experience. Of course, not to say the life experience and fitness will also move to home and also be very popular now because people realize that how important the health is. So you can see that the time of the crisis presented many challenges and opportunities to the business. So they can also act as an accelerator or agent to the changes when the business think about how we can use consumers to drive their new needs to accelerate the business development. A lot of Chinese brands also very proactively contribute during the epidemic. And the first thing they did is the social responsibilities. They directly donate the monies to hospitals or to Wuhan, or donate medical devices. And the public also believe, the Chinese citizens also believe that the major brands have the social obligation to their consumers. So they welcome these kind of activities, and they highly appreciate those big brands take the social responsibility. And another thing the brand did is change their messagings to the client, to the consumers. They changed the campaign message by focusing more on delivering a support of social actions towards the battles against the disease. Or they deliver a message of empathy and a sense of helpness, which emotionally connect with their consumers. For example, on the left-hand side, you see this is a famous alcohol brand in China. So they encourage the consumers to gather with friends online and to record those sharing moments together and to build a new type of emotional connections, which sold very well in China. By the way, the alcohol industry also be hugely impacted during the epidemic, especially the premium alcohol, because in China, the premium alcohol is mainly consumed during the social or business occasions. But in the past 3 months, especially during the Spring Festival, which is the biggest consumption period, the city all locked down and people significantly reduced their social interactions, which caused a significant impact to the premium alcohol. So throughout the year, we think that because of the slow economic recovery and also the financial crisis, we think that the premium alcohol will still face a significant challenge throughout the whole year. But maybe some niche market or those alcohols consumers consume at home will have less impacted. And we can also see in China market, some brands also very smartly utilize the PR activities to encourage, to engage with their consumers, also drive buzz during the COVID-19. For example, one of the famous hot pot chain store, Haidilao, they increased their price several weeks ago during the recovery period. But because they are so famous and they've been put on the spot, consumers complain about their price increase, and then they decide to reduce the price to normal and make a very big public apology. I say we love our consumers, and during this hard time, we still want you to be with us, so we decide to keep our price. And another interesting story is Glenn's and house appliance manufacturer. So they rent a plane to pick up the local employees from local province and fly to their factories and broadcast it in live, which also echoed the government's request to drive the economic recovery to open the factories. And during the epidemic, we can see that some of the brands stretched to the new areas. For example, the traditional cosmetic and beauty manufacturers like Shiseido, Chendo, they are all moving to the sanitization products, which they think there's a huge potential. And also they move to online very quickly. And not only for the traditional beauty manufacturers, but also some automotive companies also announced that they would cooperate with suppliers to produce masks and other disinfection suppliers. But this is not mean that they want to enter this new category. This is more from a brand promotion point of view, because, for example, Wuling is a famous local car manufacturer, and their logo is they will produce whatever the citizens want. So this kind of supporting activities moving to the facial mask supplier is more to show they take the responsibility to echo consumers' needs. And we can see the high-tech developed very fast during the epidemic. For example, the high-tech beauty categories in China become the fast-growing industry. Tmall launched their AR makeup system to help the consumers to trial different kind of makeups online. And also the online medical service include the online drugstore, online disease Q&A apps, and online medical booking systems increased about 3 times during the disease. And we can also see a lot of companies start to develop new promotion activities and even move to new channels. For example, L'Oréal Paris launched a new marketing campaign encouraging the consumers to do a new year hair color by DIY the hair drawings at home. So consumers during that boring time, they found that this kind of activities is very interesting. And also we can see a local beauty brand, Ling Qingxuan. This is a traditional offline chain store cosmetic seller. They quickly switched all shopping guides to online working mode, putting the sales to online live stream, and use online celebrities or even their own staffs to sell the product, which worked very well. Their sales get almost recovered during the first quarter. And this is not only for Ling Qingxuan, but also for other brands. What we observe is for those brands who have online capability or who have the online DNA deeply rooted in their mindset can move very fast. We think those brands traditionally heavily rely on offline or traditionally rely on the traditional marketing method react quite slowly during the epidemic and get significant loss. So to wrap up, we can see that although to some extent we see a spike pattern in China during the recovery, but definitely it is a very slow recovery period. Many feel that there's still a lot of uncertainties since other nations begin to face the same challenges as the virus been. We see a significant change in consumers' behavior and attitudes. Some of them may change back after the crisis, but many will not. And we can see that in China, brand provide a very positive role in terms of connecting with consumers, offer the products and the services. And there will be huge opportunities for the brand to do more to echo consumers' changing needs. So we also see that our clients are actively reviewing the situation. For most of them, they paused all the campaigns in the past 3 months and be very cautious on the method delivering. And they are reviewing their brand value, what messages they should put on to the market at the filter of COVID-19. And we are working with our clients very closely to reaccessing and understand those new needs. For example, I'm doing a project with one of my clients, try to understand what does the health enhanced health conscious mean to a specific RTD drink category, to see that what consumers might expect or would prefer to drink after the epidemic. And also we try to connect all these dots together. Although it is still early stage, we try to make sense, try to build the scenarios to predict our future. So our advice. So the first thing is we will need to stay very close with our consumers. They are changing needs and they have changing behaviors. We need to know what have been changed. And also we need to be very innovative to cope with those changing needs. But at the same time, as I just mentioned in the beginning, that during the uncertainties and also financial crisis, people also have the desire to seek familiarities. They might want the familiar things. So we will need to also balance the design for familiarity and for novelty, especially when we deliver the brand message, we need to be very careful. And one last thing, but most important thing, is we have to move fast because we are in a changing world and we can't wait until everything settles down. We need to move fast to echo those needs. And that did happen in China. We do see those companies who move fast, especially move to online, get more chance to get recovered. So that's all for my presentation. Of course, the Groom Day will finally pass, and we trust a new world with new market and the new consumers will come soon. Oh, thank you.